Yo, 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 yo. Red Chat here. What the hell? What the hell? That's the theory of today. What the hell? What the hell is really going on?
No, it's a big new world.
What the hell's going on? What are we doing? What are people thinking? Like, what's the world coming to? Is the world coming to an end? Are we all doomed? What the hell? That's what I'm saying. What the hell? What the hell? Yeah. How you guys doing tonight? Rat Chat here, joining you Monday night, a little earlier than normal. Usually I've been hitting the late shows. Originally I was doing this time, around this time, but then it drifted to later, and then I said I would drift back and forth the time. It's not enough people to stay at one single time. Plus, there's not news every day, every time, always the same day. How you guys doing? Be blessed. I hope everyone had a blessed week. I hope everyone is doing okay. There's a lot of chaos out there, a lot of violence, a lot of stupidity, a lot of people getting involved in each other's business, man. You know, everybody wants to be right. Everybody wants to be right. Everybody wants to be on the side of the right amount of sorrow and the right amount of feelings and the right amount of doing the right thing. And sometimes the right thing to do is to stay out of it. What the hell? You heard me. Sometimes the best thing to do is to stay out of it. Unless you have a solution, just being in it doesn't really help anything. You're not changing anything by blocking the street. You're not fixing anything. You're not solving any problems. You know, worry about your own lives. Worry about how you feel emotionally. Worry about how you do. Worry about how good of an employee you are, how good of a father, or family member, or brother, or sister, or child. Try being good at that. Try being good at being a disciple of God. Try that. I think I think the world's drifted so far away from faith that a lot of the acts that people are doing are ungodly. They're demonic, you know, fornicating in the street, dressing like they're fornicating. I mean, it's absolutely insane. But I don't really expect anyone to get to see this live feed because my show and my page I think has been pretty well shadow banned. So I'm going to be on here for a little while and we'll see if anybody gets to see it. Because pretty much my page is shadow banned, my content's been banned, my videos aren't working like they normally do. But that's because rhythms and everything are back under attack. So if you are sharing positive content, religious content, any kind of fight back against the system content, you're kind of under scrutiny right now. And all of that stuff's pretty much what I believe in. So all on my page and most everything's been under attack lately. Videos are being stopped, like dead stopped in the middle of a flow, like in an hour, 300 people like it. In 2 hours, 500 people like it. And then all of a sudden the video just dead stops, you know. And then you look at the hashtags, it's like, oh, they're always the same with me. They're almost always the same. If you look at my videos, the hashtags are almost always similar. It's the same message. I'm sharing with people to use their own mind, be positive, you know. And a lot of times people ask me what I think and what I feel, and I share that because I don't hide what I feel, because maybe they need to hear someone else's belief and feeling for them not to be afraid to say what they think, you know. It's not about disrupting shit. It's about, do you make a difference? You know, I could talk to 5 people in a quiet circle and get more across to them than I can running out in the street and acting a fool and breaking windows and spray painting my theory down the sidewalk. So, you know, who we are and how we are individually, that doesn't have anything to do with the outside elements. The labels and the connections that people have to the world shouldn't define their character or their behavior, which shouldn't include your character and your behavior. They're separate things. Your behavior doesn't dictate your character dictates your behavior. So the type of character you have has a lot to do with how you behave and how you are portrayed and how people see you. Me personally, when in modern day times, I wasn't always this good, but I tried to think, what's the right thing? What would be the polite thing? What would be the positive thing to do in a situation? Rather than me thinking on my own, like, oh, I will wreak havoc. I will punch this guy to get my way. There were years when I lived like that, when I behaved that way, and you know, that's why they call it born again, because you are born again a new mentality. You're born again in spirit. You're born again in soul. So if you lived a life that was ruckus previous to being born again, when you claim born again, if you claim it, then you have the opportunity to live anew. You don't have to live in any of the old. You can live in all the new. And if people know you from the old, they may assume that you're still in the old character, and you might even get treated that way. But that's repercussions of behavior. That's part of life. But you can generally win those people back over if you were a good friend to them to begin with. Hello, how you doing down there? I see you in the comments. Hello. So, yeah, I think you know we really need to stick with our people. We need to find our groups of people, our families, our circles, stay in them, stay protected, stay safe, and try to avoid getting wrapped into other people's circles and other people's bullshit and other people's dilemmas. You know, the same with politics. Try not to get your family wrapped up into that. If you're gonna vote, just vote and leave it at that. But don't allow that to take over who you are or your family. It's just like you don't let your gender take over who you are, because if somebody attacks it, then everything, you're under attack. You have to be a person with the personality first. Personality dictates the way people treat you, not what you are. It's the personality that you share and portray. Hello, hi Lucas. So, you know, like I said, be positive. You know, I'm very much love your people, love your friends, love your family. You know, you don't have to love everybody you don't know, but you can be kind to them. You can give them respect without even giving them you don't have to show them physical respect, but to give them respect, you can just mind your business, and that respects their business. For hello. So, if anybody's got any questions, you can feel free to throw a question. I was really just talking tonight about what the hell, what the hell's going on? What makes people so upset in their lives that they spend so much of their lives, worrying about what other people are doing? I get it. Right and wrong, good and bad. We decide which things we blow up over. We have systematic unhappiness. Oh, we're mad about those things because these people care. We're mad about these things because nobody cares. You know, if you don't have the empathy across the board for all humanity, then you shouldn't waste your time having empathy on any side. You know, good or bad, right or wrong, left or right. You should have equal empathy across the board, or you should have no concern at all. You know, that's the only thing I've ever respected about atheists. Rather than bullshitting around about believing in something a little bit or being on the fence about it, they just admit right out front that they don't believe in anything. Not that I agree with that, because I don't believe in nothing. I don't think nothing comes from nothing. You know, that's an easy argument. How you guys doing tonight? How is everyone? You guys from the cold? Who's freezing to death? Who's in the snow? I live in the mountains. It's a little cold. It's a lot colder than it normally is. Where I live, it doesn't generally snow, but I was just wondering if you guys are trapped. Did you guys travel plans get screwed up? No. But yeah, literally, like, what the hell's going on out there? It's crazy, you know. I think the funniest thing, this is where I hurt all the feelings. The funniest thing is the people that are causing themselves the problems. You know, I could easily get myself in a lot of problems if I wanted to on a regular daily basis. I could easily have problems with cops. The way I look, covered in tattoos, I could easily make problems for myself. I've been pulled over twice this year, once for not really stopping good at a stop sign, and once for driving too fast and I didn't have my shirt on and I looked sketchy and they wanted to search my car. And you know what happened? I got warnings and let go because I behave appropriately. I had guns in the car, weed in the car, look, whatever. It doesn't matter what's going on. It matters how you behave. It matters how you think. It matters how you understand. It matters the way you represent yourself as an individual. If you carry Christ, if you carry God with you, if you believe in faith, and you carry that with you, then what happens is you can live a much more peaceful, calmer existence because you allow a lot of that weight that stresses people out to be carried by God, because he rides with you. He rides everywhere with me. So I don't get as stressed out. I just get pulled over. It's just a normal thing. You know, I don't lose my mind. I don't freak out. I don't choose a bunch of rights or righteousness or tell the cops what they can and can't do, because I can tell you this from experience, and if you've ever watched any shows, talk shit to the cops, no matter who they are, what state they're in, long enough, and eventually you will be in handcuffs in a police car going to a jail. It's that simple. Mind your manners, behave yourself, and you might just walk away with a ticket, or you might walk away with the warning. So everything you do has everything to do with how you are. Everything the way you're perceived by everybody. The girl at the store who was rude to you, she was perceived your energy also. So before we go casting the judgment on everybody we walk across every day, we might have to think they may be casting their judgment across us. Or they might just be accepting you. So wouldn't it be better if you just accepted them the same? I'm just saying. Real talk here. You know, get talking to real people about real feelings, about real life. You know, we don't have to get in the drama of the outside world. There's plenty of that. The inside world that we live in as people, how we interact with each other when we're at the store, when we're getting food from the diner, you know, in traffic. How crazy are you in traffic? Me? I'm guilty of being semi-crazy in traffic. But my problem is, as a human being, I'm a reactor. I can be perfectly calm. I can be doing everything exactly calm, but I tend to react to the maniacs. So I could be going fine and someone does something maniac and it tends to set me off. I tend to want to stop them and I have to catch myself. Some people are the maniacs. What do I believe in? I believe in Jesus Christ as my Savior, if that's what you mean. And this is green tea. I'm always getting in trouble for copyrights and infringements from having signs in the background and playing my friend's music. And by the way, any of the music that you ever hear in the background on my show, it's always Deadbolt because they are my official background jams.
You open the paper, what do you see? Terrible things they have in common.
Oh, it's very nice to hear that, they love. I think more problems in the world would be solved if more people just thought about what God taught, whether they believed it or not. If they just thought about the way He lived and behaved, I think you could change a lot of what's going on. And the talk isn't cheap, and it is what it is. What do you mean? What do you mean there, ZQ7? What happens when the talk isn't cheap and it is what it is? What talk isn't cheap? And what is what it is? What are we talking about? What is what it is separate than talk isn't cheap. If talk isn't cheap, then everything's going good. If talk is cheap, then that means whoever's talking is not talking the truth. What is just like circumstantial, like how things are going in that circumstance. You know, that's generally how you would phrase what is would be phrased. Welcome. Hello. Welcome. I don't know what welcome is. How you guys doing tonight? It's good to see people. It's good to see you guys in here. Not getting too much. There we go. Absolutely. When you talk, it has consequences, regardless if you're right or wrong, good or bad, happy or sad. You have to be willing to own what you say, because whatever you say has consequences. You know, if I say I believe in God and someone kicks in the door of my house and I'm not able to get to my gun in time and they kill me because of that belief, then that is what that is. You know? No. You're from Sri Lanka? Wow, that's cool. That's pretty far away. Yeah, well, the crazy thing about the truth is there's really no way to have it other than what it is. It doesn't get to be, it doesn't have an opinion. You know, it it's just what it is. Like the facts don't have feelings, you know? A lot of people hate that, and it's hard to understand, because I think the hardest thing, and I've said this many times, the hardest thing for most people to swallow about God, and the reason why most people don't want to look at it, don't want to understand it, and don't want to appreciate it, is because the more you appreciate and understand the truth of the Bible and Jesus Christ, the more you realize where you fall short as a human being. And the more you individually want to change to be different, to fit that. I mean, that's comes from my experience personally. I grew up, I'm covered in tattoos. I was an outlaw motorcycle thug most of my entire life. Uh, when I started really down my venture finding God about 5 years ago, um, I thought in the beginning I was pretty righteous and that I just turned over to God and everything was cool. And after several years of being basically what's considered a fake Christian, um, I realized I had fallen very short and that I had to change many more things um, in my personality and in my outward behavior towards the world to fit into that? To feel that inside, and to feel that was actually valid. So I think that's the biggest journey, and I think that's why so many people are afraid of Christianity and God. And a lot of times, I mean, the other night I had 75 people at once, and I said one sentence with the word God in it, and immediately everybody was gone, because it was late at night and it was like probably all partiers having fun, and that doesn't resonate, you know. It doesn't resonate with someone who enjoys living in chaos. That's why I say, what the hell? Like, you look around the world, it's like, what the hell? And it's, do I like African? There's no such thing as African Americans. There's Americans, and they might happen to be black, but there are no African Americans. They're either from Africa or they're from America. So everybody that's black in America is just an American, bro, and they're part of this country. If they're from Africa and they've migrated here, then they'd be an African American, and yeah, I would like them too. That's kind of a pointed racist question, you know. Trying to get a specific answer from that, which, well, in all reality, that's a good point. When you talk about migration and the tribes of Israel, that's actually true. We did all migrate from a central part of the earth, you know. So yeah. But we don't call people that are from America anything but Americans. I don't call somebody a Mexican American. I think that's stupid. If they're born in Texas, they're American, man. If they're Chinese and they're born in San Diego, I don't call them a Chinese American. That's just ignorant. That's not how we talk to each other. When you start dividing people up into a group as the base of the conversation, that's the beginning of the failed morality of humanity. When you have to start with the basis of the group is which group you're in. I said that earlier. When your identity isn't your personality, when your identity is something else, then the problem with your identity being anything other than your personality is that whatever it is that you are with, when that is insulted or attacked, then you personally become attacked. That's repugnant. That's silly. We're all human. But some people are happy to be labeled where they're from. I have a friend who's from Italy. He loves being known that he's Italian. He tells everybody that, from the little village, from the province he's from, every time he comes over and visits. So whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't see people for that. I don't judge people by where they come from, and judge people by the way they treat other human beings. Not by what they say, by how they treat people, how they behave in public, how they act around real human beings. That's awesome. It's very good to be proud. I have a great lineage of Irish history and heritage in my blood, but I was born in America, in Ohio. So even I'd love to say I'm Irish, but I'm actually American. You know, I don't know. My family didn't have any cool traditions or bring anything back or anything like that. But we're all people, man. That's the whole point of it. What the hell? Why can't we all just be people? Why can't we all just wait in line together patiently? Why can't we all just, live in relative harmony without bothering each other? If you don't have anything to share with the other person, don't bother them. You don't like their shirt, ignore them. You don't like them, go on about your business. That's it. If you let everybody, if you do good and you help others do good, the world will be more good. If you take your time to do anything less than that, if you take your energy to do anything less than that, then all you're doing is harming you and harming all that around you. So that's the reals of it, you know. I'd like to appreciate all you guys that have been coming in tonight. We've had a lot of traffic. Thank you very much. Play a little more Deadbolt.
Kill you for this. Kill you for that. But even the government audio.
How you doing, Carlos? See you down there in the comments. How you doing tonight? Welcome in. Yeah, we're just talking about the whole world. What the hell, you know? The hell's going on around us? What are we thinking? What are we doing? How are we growing as humans, man? What are we doing to better ourselves? What are we doing to help our fellow man, help each other? What are we doing to hurt? What are we destroying? Hey, Kazoon, how you doing? You know, what are we doing to help each other out? Well, thank you. I appreciate the like and the subscriptions, man. I really appreciate that. You know, I'm just trying to find real people to talk to. That's the only reason I made a page. I think there's a lot of silly clown content all over the internet, and I don't want to be that. I'm not here trying to get like personal clout for me. Generally, the only thing I'm here to do is to try to help people think better to each other and to the people around them that they already know. Because you probably never run into me, but you will run into the people you already know, and maybe I say something would help you interact with them or make you think of something positive. Or you could tell something I said to someone else and it helps their day. You know, if we could have one person in the show, you know, that did like 40 shows. If I help one person per show, you know, that'd be amazing. I know one show a kid told me he was really helped him and he was doing a lot better. So, you know, there's one. That's more than none. I'm not on here dancing in some silly outfits. I'm not on here barking about conspiracies. I'm not on here cursing and threatening the world. You know, all I'm on here doing is sharing the honest truth about real content of human life, not not events. You know, everybody's got the events covered. Nobody wants the screenshots, me bitching about some guy in this little box. Nobody needs that. There's 100 of those pages. I believe in God. I believe in God is the one and only true God, Jesus Christ. I don't think it's wrong that anybody believes in what they believe in. That's just what I believe. And that's what I'll always believe. And I won't change my mind. I've studied a lot of stuff. And that's firmly what I believe and what I share with the world. Yeah. Yeah. I don't. I'd probably rather Russia rule the world before China, but probably neither one of those would be the best. Neither one of those would be the best option. It's just green tea in the bottle. For those of you guys that weren't here earlier when I said that, just so you know, that's all it is. Green tea. Take the label off, and there's no copyright infringement. I don't have any whatever, any backing. I don't get paid by anybody to make my messages. The only thing that backs me or fuels me is my belief in Jesus and God, and this one and the same. Jesus is God. He's the Lord. The only way the only way to God is through the sun, through the light. That's it. So sometimes if you see some of my videos, I'll read little short scriptures. Uh, some of my live shows, I'll actually have the book out, and we'll be going over certain kinds of things that we do related to the thing. So if you guys are in here for the first time and you're interested in coming back and watching some other stuff or going and watching some of my content, it's generally what it's always about. It's nothing negative. Uh, I think you'll only see me curse in a couple hundred videos. You'll only see me curse maybe a couple times, and it's usually got to be pretty well provoked. Um, yeah, I mean, no, I really just think that positive. You got to be positive. You got to get up every day, and you got to think, what can you do today to better your life? You can't always worry about what's going on in the world around you or everybody else's life. You have to think about how is your life in control first, because if your life is not in control, you're not helping anybody else. That's a fact. Well, I'll agree with you, Chilled. I don't believe in religion, or church or man-made stuff. I believe in God and the Bible. The words of the Bible is God, and if you follow that, the happiness, the joy, all the stuff that's promised comes from that. The religion itself is just, in a lot of ways, in a lot of churches and in a lot of places in the country, is convoluted bullshit. It really is. I saw a clip today on the internet where the pastor was in rainbows and was actually talking bad about several verses and books of the Bible, and said that they wouldn't be speaking about any of that stuff because it isn't real or isn't accurate. And I can't get behind that, and I can't back that, and I would stand against that, and I think everyone should. I think if you go to a church and it's a Christian church and they're speaking anything that's not what the Bible says, that's not church. That's man-made religion. And see, once man dilutes and changes anything, it starts to fail. It's all the original stuff that worked. If you think about it, nature heals mankind. Everything we know how to do to heal mankind from nature helps us. But a lot of the things mankind has made has killed us. So think about that. God made pot, man made alcohol. Which one's more dangerous? Which one's taking the most lives? That's an easy one. So it's very true. And, it's just that simple. Well, if you haven't, I suggest you should try it. Maybe just get one of those apps on your phone and, read a verse or two and see if any of it resonates for you, because that's really how it is. You read it and it resonates. And mostly the New Testament is the most of what's accurate to the world, because people say, oh, there's a bunch of shit. Yeah, the original Testament was wrote 1,000 years before Jesus. The New Testament is the story of the life of Jesus and the 1,000 years and the 500 years after that. So the whole timeline of it's about 1,500 years, but 500 years of it is all the disciples of God who saw God, who lived with God, who were witnesses of God, and the people from the time after that, the children of those people. So you could read James or Peter or any of that stuff. You could read any of the later books and get a better sense Then if you start with like the beginning with Genesis and shit, yeah, that shit's John begot Bill and Bill begot Ben and all that. Yeah. So that would be what if one of my friends asked me, or I was talking, I treat everyone as if they're my friend. So that's what I would tell my friends. That's what I have told my friends. You know, you could get like the King James Bible-verse app on your phone and go in there and just look up, James or whatever. You could just turn it on and it'll come in and have like a verse of the day at the bottom and just read that one a couple times. Read the verse of the day. Don't even look through it, and just see if anything that goes by for a week, if any of it resonates. You'd be amazed at how much you hear things in there that you go, wow, I get that. I feel that. I understand that. I connect that. It's written by humans for humans. I mean, they're all inspired by God, but they're written by humans, by man who was there, who witnessed it. So the whole second half of the Bible is all the witnesses of God and the descendants of the witnesses of God. The first half of the Bible is the story of God's going to come, which he does. And he fulfills over 300 prophecies that were written in there. So it's heavy duty, man. And I say it all the time when I do these shows, that it's heavy. The more you believe, the heavier it gets, because the more you understand and the more you believe into it, the heavier it gets, because the more truth becomes revealed to you. But so do the feelings, and so does the peace, and so does the happiness, and so does everything else. I don't have any videos of me 5 years ago, but if I did, it'd be me and a half dozen biker dudes sitting around in vests, chugging down beers, at a bar somewhere, waiting for someone to like look at us crazy so we could start problems. That's how far life can change you. That's cool. That's absolutely. I mean, that's that's one way. I mean, believing, if having belief is more than nothing, you know, maybe one day that belief makes you more curious, because that's kind of how it works. Maybe one day you think about, you need more answers, or you got questions, and then you seek out those. Till then, you don't worry about it. That's the way life is. I'd never tell anybody to go do it just to go do it. Like I'm saying to go do it. That's what you would do if you wanted to. If you were interested, that's the way I would suggest to go about it. I never tell anybody what to do or suggest that they do the things that I do. I only just share my opinion. That's why my show is called "I'm Just Saying," because I'm just saying. I'm not. I'm not like. I'm not a priest. I'm not a pastor. I'm a reverend. I just share the word. That's all. I got a pastor. I go to my pastor. My pastor's name's David. I go to him for the answers that I need, for the questions, for the bigger questions, and the things in the book that I need clarity. That's the way it works. Because there's always a higher authority in everything. At work, there's a boss, and hopefully the boss knows more than you. Sometimes that's not the case, but that's generally how it is. That's absolutely the facts. Life comes from life. That is absolutely the fact. We are a special creature, given a lot of special qualities and a lot of things that we get to enjoy in this world. I mean, the scenery, the food, the just everything this world has to offer is way too amazing to think that it wasn't created. kind of look at those beautiful skies sometimes and just think someone didn't just paint that sky. Someone didn't paint that mountain range or that ocean view or those birds in the sky. I'm just saying, you never know. I know, but you never know. I mean, I could know and I could be wrong. That's what a friend of mine asked me a couple of weeks ago. I got a buddy. He's a Viking, and he really believes in Thor and Odin and all those guys. And Jesus is a carpenter who they nailed to a cross, is what he's told me. And I said, that's cool. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to die either way at some point in life. And one of two things is going to happen. I'm going to die, and I'm going to go in the box, and it's going to go dark, and that'll be the absolute end forever. Or I'm going to die, and God's going to be standing there to judge me. And he's either going to take me to heaven or cast me into hell. And I prefer to be taken to heaven. So I personally have repented my sins. I try not to create more sins. I try to live in God's graces so that when I die, I'll go to heaven. Worst case scenario, nothing happens. So I don't really feel like there's anything to lose and there's everything to gain. But in my life personally, I gave up alcohol. I gave up, I don't know how to say it, too much crazy partying sex. I gave up outlaw bike life. Gave up a lot of things through the grace of God who saved me and given me other things in my life and kept me fed and kept me healthy and kept me alive and saved me in dangerous situations that didn't make sense. So that's my belief. Carry that. I'll never trade it. I'll never share it. Yeah. Well, mankind is not supposed to judge mankind. And God doesn't say you can't drink beer. It was just something I needed out of my life. So yeah, there's no rule that says that. Unless you're like a Muslim, there's no rule that says you can't have beer. So yeah, well, when I used to go to the bar, I didn't drink tea. I didn't get 3 DUIs and arrested by the police a bunch of times in my life by drinking tea. So I get it, bro. I get it. And we defend the things we love. I understand that, I was the same guy. I'm 53 now. When I was all the way up until just recently, I was the same guy. I'll do this as long as I want. I'll do whatever I want. And I did. But this is what I want to do. I didn't do it because someone else asked me to do it or suggested I do it or told me to do it. It was just the things I felt in my life I wanted to change. So, cheers, bro. Have one for me. All right, everybody. Chilled. It was really nice talking to you. You were really fun. You gave a lot of feedback, man. I really appreciate that. Well, good for you, man. I grew up in a kind of a weird life, man. Kid kind of cast out into the world, into the streets, and I got in a lot of trouble and had a pretty difficult route. But I got no complaints, and I don't blame nobody for anything that ever happened. take responsibility, and I changed my life the way I wanted to change it. And you live the life the way you want to live it. And if you're happy, I hope you stay happy. You know, that's all I wish for people. I say, I'm just saying, I'm the Reverend Chad. God loves you, all of you. Thank you for coming. Appreciate you guys, especially you, Chilled. Had a great conversation with you tonight.
Well, look out, man. Don't you
Dead
know
old out the
it's a
door.
great big world. Oh, I haven't seen Jack in quite a while. Well, he came up to me with a big old smile.
Thank you, people.
Dressed like a woman
Great
from
having
head
you.
to toe. Well, poor old
I'm just
Jack
saying,
was now a
it's
show.
Realtalk.
Look out, man. Don't you know it's a creepy world. Ooh, creepy.
Hey, mate, if I get a chance to come to Ireland, don't worry, I will have a Guinness with you. I will have a Guinness. If you ever see Reverend Chad in Ireland,
Look out,
show me what
don't you
you
know
want to have a
it's a
Guinness.
creepy world. Hey, well, people are creepy.
Till then,
If I miss
I
it,
won't
so
be treated.
I'll see you tomorrow on my favorite talk show. If it's
Alright, have a good night.
they're not all there.
Peace.
Chances are good that you know I'm there. Look out, man, don't you know it's a creepy world.